Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Madelyn Burke, alongside the Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara. The phone number here, 201-939-4513. Or you can find us on Twitter at #GiantsChat. As a reminder, you can find the archive of this show and our entire podcast network on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcasts. It's Wednesday, December 11th. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
It's Jim Burke's birthday out there in Hawaii. He might not yet be stirring since it's only 6:30 in the morning out there. But you know what? He'll listen to this recording later and be very glad to get the happy birthday shout out.
Happy birthday, Jim. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mahalo and aloha.
Yep, all of it.
Yeah.
Mele Kalikimaka. That's Merry Christmas. I don't know, we're close. All the good vibes. It's a rainy great. Wednesday. It's hoodie season out here. Shout out Carl Banks.
Yeah, it is rainy and cold and damp, and you've got the proper attire. This is definitely a hoodie, ponytail kind of day.
That it is.
I didn't get the memo for either one. I don't think I could.
I think you can rock the ponytail.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough hair back there. It's been disappearing over the last 10 years. But yes, it definitely has that feel to it and that vibe. I bet in Hawaii, there's probably a rainbow coming up soon.
That is true.
And on your birthday, you got to get up early on your birthday. Like, you don't want to sleep in on your birthday. Like, that is your day.
Yeah.
You want to maximize it. Like, get up at 6 a.m. and you're not going to bed until midnight because that's your day.
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure he's probably going to be on a golf course somewhere soon. But yeah, you got to get up early, getting all those calls and texts and all that good stuff.
What do you do? I'm just curious. Will you FaceTime him for his birthday? Will you send him a text? Will you call him? Like, what's the order? Do you do the text early on and then FaceTime later?
Well, I called him yesterday as a happy birthday Eve call, and then the Burke family has a special birthday song.
Oh boy,
this is not the classic. All right, I will sing it for you all.
It's not the one you just sang.
No, it's from this old show. I forget what the show was called, but it's a show that my dad and his siblings grew up watching, and it's the Happy Birthday song by Casey Jones is the original. But essentially it goes, happy, happy birthday to every girl and boy. Hope this very special day brings you lots of joy. I hope the birthday presents you get from mom and dad will make this very special day the best you've ever had. Hey!
Cheers. Happy birthday.
So that is it. So that's some joy to start the show on a rainy day, because when it rains, it pours.
Yeah. Well done. That was in tune.
Thank you.
There was a nice crescendo.
Thank you.
Well done.
been warming up the vocal cords for all the BBK listeners out there. Hope you enjoyed that, and hope you are all having a happy My Dad's birthday today. But yeah, as we mentioned, rainy day, rains it pours. We've got some news for you in terms of
we do.
Injuries. Giants quarterback Drew Lock is in a boot. So Tommy DeVito will get the start at quarterback for these New York Football Giants on Sunday when the Baltimore Ravens come to town. That's some big news, Shaun.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel like this is that time of year you kind of look around the league. A lot of guys are getting banged up, but it really feels like the Giants have gotten hit hard here in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, with Dexter Lawrence going down, Bobby Okereke missed his first game. Like, the offensive line is banged up as well. So, again, it's so hard to get continuity as an offense when you're changing offensive linemen and different personnel. But when you're changing quarterbacks, it gets even tougher as a play caller, because now it's like, okay, we wanted to cater things towards Drew, and you had a very small sample size with him. And then, you first started out with Tommy after shifting from Daniel Jones. So now it's just kind of, again, a shift back to now, all right, what does Tommy do best? Like, what kind of reads does he like? Does he better at reading things outside in? Is he better at seeing the middle of the field, or is he better at painting the sidelines? Is it more short intermediate throws, or, is he kind of like to be a little more aggressive with down the field throws? So there's all of that aspect of it. And then there's the protection aspect of it, and the stuff at the line. Look, how well does he see the defenses adjusting, and can he get us out of a bad play? What kind of things can he do? What can't he do? And I think that's all the mind game aspect of it. But physically, this is tough now too because, okay, now Tommy's your starter. If Drew can't play, who's the backup? So now it's like, okay, we got to protect Tommy because we don't. If Tommy gets hurt, now we're really up. What's creek.
Yeah.
I think this is, this feels like the way this season has just gone. Like we just no breaks. Like not a single break is going the Giants' way, and I hope this isn't a break.
Yeah.
But to see Drew Lock get banged up, and look, I'll say this: Drew Lock fought his butt off on Sunday. Like again, we've said this so many weeks this year. The Giants had a chance to win that game. They should have won that game.
Right.
The blocked field goal, it's just absurd.
Well, the fact that the field goal was blocked on the same play that the Giants used to block the field goal in Seattle,
right,
is
Yeah, I mean that was an impressive
poetic
feat by the defensive lineman to jump over. I mean he's a big dude. I mean was the kick low? Sure. I mean you always say that when it gets blocked, and had he known that was going to happen, maybe you give it a little more trajectory, but. Again, it's just, you feel snake bitten with that, but the Giants had a chance to win the game because what Drew did with his legs, really.
Right.
I mean, he was the leading rusher. They weren't design runs; they were scrambles.
Right.
But I mean, look, 3rd and 15, and he's running for a first down because nobody's open or protection breaks down. He made a lot of plays, just kind of spur of the moment and trying to create things. Look, it wasn't a clean game. It wasn't a perfect game by any means. There were some missed throws. There were some missed routes, some missed protections, but. I thought Drew played his butt off. He took some shots.
Yeah.
He got banged up a little bit. It was a rough day for both quarterbacks. Carr got hurt too. He had a concussion. He might not be playing this week either. So,
and Carr broke his hand. He broke his non-throwing hand as well, Derek Carr, and so he's going to be out for a couple weeks. They're not putting him on IR just yet because they're hoping that he can come back at some point this season. But yeah. That's it. It's a physical game, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a tough day at MetLife, apparently.
It was a tough
the gifts
day.
just keep on giving. So, for the Giants, all right, back to Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. And then Tim Boyle would be the backup quarterback. Of course, Tim Boyle signed to the practice squad. He is now back in the mix and clearly the healthy QB2 option.
Yeah. So for Tommy, hey, you get another great opportunity.
Yeah.
And, for him, look, we saw him in this same situation last year. He's a tough kid. He plays hard. He can run around too and kind of make things happen. I think the big thing that you would say with DeVito coming back in and being the starter is like you gotta limit the sacks.
Yeah.
Like that's really right now his Achilles heel is get the ball out. Like get the ball out, get through your reads. You got to kind of speed up some of those things. But I will say that this shouldn't be all on DeVito. Like, hey, look, we're going to throw the ball 35 times. Tommy DeVito should not be throwing the ball 30 plus times. Like,
right.
This game, especially with what's going on the other side, right? You're playing the Baltimore Ravens. You've got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Keep them off the field as much as possible. This needs to be a possession-based game. Like, we have to hold the ball. We need 12, 13, 14 play drives. Run the ball. We got to run the clock. Like, we cannot. You got to limit the possessions. This is like playing the Chiefs. You can't give Mahomes 8 possessions. You want to try to shorten the game, maybe give them 6, maybe get a turnover. That would be nice. The Giants just got their second interception on the season last week. So that's kind of the macro game plan.
Yeah, by second-year corner Trey Hawkins III, who suffered a low back injury and is on IR for the remainder of the season. Another one.
There we go. Like I said, it's just, man, it's one thing after another. Like Trey had an awesome game.
Right.
He was flying around, made some big plays. I think the opening possession of the game, he had a nice pass breakup. And then boom, stuff like that happens. It's tough. It's really tough.
It's tough because, on some level, you look at the way the season has gone and you think, okay, there's some plays that you want back. There's some situations that you wish would have gone a different direction. But also, some of it is just bad luck with the injuries. And I mean, talking about the DBs right there, you've got Trey, who, was getting his first start, made the most of it, and then now is out for the remainder of the season. Drew Phillips not practicing today. Cordell Flott and Tay Banks should do something at practice per Brian Dable. But again, that's a really injury-depleted group as well, the defensive backfield. And when you're looking at that, Tyler Nubin also at an ankle, he's not practicing today. They're just shallow in DBs.
Yeah. I mean, it's you kind of look out and it's like, all right, do we have enough healthy bodies to even practice right now?
Right.
Like if for guys that are out, obviously, you there's only so many guys you can bring in, or at this late in the season, you can put guys on IR, but then you got to bring somebody in that, you can activate. That's why the practice squad being so much better in terms of numbers now. It used to just be 5. Now the fact that you can have more guys, it helps in this situation, because now you have a guy that's been practicing and has some familiarity with the offense or the defense. But even right now during the week, like today's Wednesday, you've got to practice.
Yeah.
Right. So if half of your secondary is not practicing, they're not getting those reps on. This is a different week. You're playing Lamar Jackson. There are a lot of different reads with the run game. Obviously Derrick Henry brings a real problem when they want to run the football.
Yeah.
But Lamar has a different set of skills too. So you're going to try to simulate that in practice, and you can watch film on it all you want. You can walk through it and you can, watch it from the sideline, but until you're actually in there running a play, knowing, all right, who has the running back, who has the quarterback, who has, which gap based on all those quarterback design runs and the option that he runs. Those are tough things. And then not to mention his scramble ability, his ability once he gets outside the pocket. So that's a tough task for Shane Bowen to try to replicate that this week in practice, so they get some visual, but especially if you're handcuffed with some of the guys in their practice time.
Absolutely. And, in continuing with the injury report here from the infirmary, Nacho's out, not practicing today. John Runyon, Evan Neal, also not practicing today. Jermaine Illuminor and Chris Hubbard, they should do something.
Yeah.
Illuminor has made, quote, good progress per Brian Dable, and they're more optimistic on him than they are on Hubbard. But that'll be good to kind of reshore up some of the tackle positions. And then Malik Neighbor is still dealing with that hip injury, the hip injury that had him questionable going into last week, that limited him in practice a bit last week, but he will do something today. And again, the rookie's still dealing with that injury, but played through it and has spoken about the importance of just kind of being there, showing up for his team and putting himself in the position on the field if he can.
What's any updates on JMS? I know he was getting an MRI. and
None that we are seeing yet from the press conference, but we'll keep...
Yeah, that was a big blow in the game on Sunday, him going down, and then they had to, it's like, all right, who are we moving over to center? Who's coming in?
Yeah.
And instead of bringing in somebody else, they moved Greg Van Roten over, who I thought did an excellent job filling in at center. That's always a tough spot to be in, going from guard. Now all of a sudden you got to play center, and I know he's taken reps at center this whole season, and he did it some in training camp. Actually, when he first came to the Giants, he was strictly playing center because JMS had injured his shoulder in training camp. So he has a lot of reps with that, but still, it's game speed is different, and you want to make sure that you don't have any center exchange issues on both under center and in shotgun. One of the challenging areas with that is always goal line and short yardage, because you're trying to get really low and you're getting down, and sometimes that your butt gets a little bit lower. If the quarterback doesn't stay down there with you, you see a lot of fumbles down at the goal line because of that. So that's always something you got to keep an eye on. But I thought Greg Van Roten did a great job stepping in at center. And Kubis had to come in at left guard for Runyon. So Runyon's a tough dude. I don't think he's missed a game in his career. So this would be a first for him as well. Just like we saw Okereke last week not be able to play. But the O-line shuffling is very, that's challenging. That's challenging in itself. Hopefully Illuminor should be able to go, because I think his was a bruise.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like he tore his quad. It was a thigh bruise, and I actually saw the play. He kind of got hit by a defender coming in, and so it looked like a real blunt force trauma to the thigh.
Yeah.
But hopefully he can get back out there, and he should be back out there by now.
Well, and Illuminor is another guy who's not used to missing time due to injury. I mean, he's another guy who's pretty sturdy and reliable, and I believe his first, if not one of the first games he's missed due to injury.
Yeah. And
he said, listen, I tried to get back, I couldn't do it, but he felt optimistic last week, like, I can't make it this one, but I feel like I will be good to go next week. So it'll be good to have him back.
Strap it up, we got to go.
Let's go. We got the Baltimore Ravens coming to town.
Need them all.
201-939-4513. Hey, Giants fans, make sure you go and subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. It features long-form interviews with Giants players, coaches, and front office staff, past and present. Plus, hear from the best analysts covering Big Blue and the NFL. Just search for the Giants Huddle and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms, or go to giants.com/podcast. And don't forget, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star positive review for all of our Giants podcasts. Let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. As we head to the phone lines, Cliff in New York. Cliff, you're on Big Blue Kickoff Live with Shaun and Madelyn. How's it going?
Hey, guys. Nice rainy day. I was thinking with the, we could hire a plane with a banner that says trust the process, but it might just make people more angry.
I think that one flies over Philly, right?
Trust the process?
That's a Sam Hinkie quote.
Well, I thought that was a basketball thing when they were tanking so they could draft number 1 for 3 years in a row and the only one.
Well, yeah, the then Sixers general manager Sam Hinkie made that his go-to, trust the process, and that was in Philadelphia. That's why.
Yeah, but, except we don't approve of tanking.
No.
No.
Don't even know what it is.
No.
Never heard of it. But I was, reminded me. I'd like to know more about what the process actually means. I have a vague idea. I know that these guys came in the new regime in a situation that people forget, with not holes in the roster, but needs in every position group. That's more than holes. And the first thing they were known for in Buffalo, we learned in one of the huddles, was that they went younger right away, and so that means we have to put up with things like not re-signing a Shaun Robinson and people like that because they're a little older, even though they can still play. And so I just want, I'd like to know more about it, what it means. I know it has a lot to do with competition, and that when you bring in guys and they don't seem to be lighting everything up right away, but they still stick with the team, it seems like when they bring in new draftees and free agents in the training camp, they've got a higher level of competition to work with, and the competition I've learned here on this show has something to do with developing the winning attitude also. So I was hoping to learn something about all that stuff today.
All right, we'll do our best, Cliff. Trust the process. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a moniker, right? It's a hashtag. It's a saying. It kind of goes along with, hey, stay the course, stay focused. The process, that can mean so many different things. I mean, you'd say trust the process when it comes to preparation, and that's your process is I'm watching film, I'm doing this, your film study, doing your due diligence leading up to the game. Trust the process also in physically. All right, here's the things I need to do to be ready for game day. So it kind of becomes your weekly process, your weekly routine, if you will. But I think it's also like, hey, we got to stick together.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Just because something happened and we had a bad play or a bad game, like we don't just start throwing stuff around and freaking out. We don't go Jerry Maguire.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it too. Look, I'm looking for an analogy here. So,
well, it's also
if you're playing blackjack, and you stay on 16, right? You stay on it. You trust the process. That is your routine. That's what you believe. You don't just all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to hit. You have to have. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to win games. Obviously, it helps when the process works and you have success. It's a lot easier to trust the process when you're winning. It's always harder. And look, everybody, we're all humans. Like, when things aren't going well, you start to question everything and just, are we doing this the right way? So I think there's a lot of levels and a lot of layers to that. I think STD is kind of the smart, tough, dependable.
Yeah.
They might want to rethink that moniker.
Yeah, maybe reshuffle the order,
that is basically what they have tried to build here with players, with coaches, and as a staff.
Well, it's also too, I mean, when you talk about trust the process, it's like if you've ever renovated your kitchen, you think, all right, I have a kitchen. It's not quite what I want right now. I have a vision of what I want it to look like. And you know what? This is what we're going to make it look like. The process of renovating it, you're going through, it's messy. It gets messier before it gets cleaner.
A lot of dust.
You can still use the sink, but the refrigerator's out one day or the dishwasher's working, but you don't have a this or that. And so you've got little pieces that you're using. And throughout this renovation process of going from your old kitchen to your new kitchen, you're thinking, what am I doing what is going on? Is this even going to be okay? Because I feel like I'm living in chaos and a mess. And then one day the job is done and suddenly you have a pristine, beautiful kitchen that you had to have patience in putting together and living through the piecemeal of it. And that's how you get the process.
That's a great analogy. Well done.
There's a lot.
Sometimes you got to drink from the garden hose,
You do.
while the kitchen is under repair.
Exactly.
And everybody knows that water from the garden hose just doesn't taste good.
It doesn't, and suddenly, you're like, all right, listen, we're eating out this week because I got nothing. Grubhub, yes,
DoorDash.
Exactly. But
there's
then,
a lot of,
yeah. Go ahead.
There's a lot of kitchen renovation business in New Jersey.
Yeah, there's a lot of remodeling. Right now, it feels like a little more than just the kitchen. Right?
That's true. Whole gut right now.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan got me going on the process a little bit on the post game. The only way to develop the young. Well, Dable in his post game said we're going to continue to develop these young players, and at another time, either on that show or another one on the post games, Jonathan said the only way that young players to develop is to play in the games, and so it's like acceptance of something there that I have to be able to endure as a fan. And by the way, I don't get, since I started watching the post game shows, there's two of them, going back a ways. I noticed I wouldn't be totally crushed by a defeat all day Monday. I'd be disappointed, but I wasn't crushed. It kind of pays to do those things.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that helps.
Yeah. Just kind of piggybacking off of what you were talking about with Jonathan Casillas and the trust the process stuff. So a great analogy, Madelyn, with the kitchen renovation. And when you kind of look at that as like building the team from a roster standpoint too, look, the Giants are playing a lot of young players. I think at one point in the league, they had more snaps by rookie players than any team in the league.
Yeah.
So there's that part of the process. And if that was going to be, hey, here's the shift, Saquon Barkley, you don't pay him. You don't pay Xavier McKinney. You're trying to fix the salary cap and give yourself more room to maneuver. But in the meantime, that part of that process is playing younger players like you're talking about, Cliff. Yeah, there's going to be some growing pains. And you look at it and you say, all right, we knew this coming into the season. We were going to have a lot of young players. We're going to play a lot of young players. There's going to be some growth there. There will be some steps back. There will be some growing pains. But throughout that process, this time next year, those players you have under contract for the next 4 years, right? Once you drafted them, and so now you're building that roster the right way, not just plucking a guy here for a year or two in free agency. You're trying to build it the right way, and so you're not having to go back and redo it 2 years later. So I think that's a part of that whole trust the process. I don't think anybody thought that it would be a 2-win season up until this point going through that process, but that's where we are.
Well, we didn't think we were going to have a 9-win season in 22, and Howard was saying, we were ahead of schedule there, in terms of the one loss, but a lot of those games we won that year, and those same games we don't win this year.
Yeah.
And I know the staff focuses on that.
Well, yeah, Cliff, and it's a great point because the Giants this year, they're 1-7 in one-score games.
Yeah.
And that year, 2022, they were probably 7-1, and like that's the biggest, twist in all this stuff. So we talked earlier on about, man, there were so many games this season that was like they should have won, like they were right there, and it was like, hey, kicker gets hurt in week 2, boom, you lose that game. Block field goal here, like so. There are all those games. Even if at 1-7, if you went 3-4 or 4-3 in those one-score games, now your season is totally different, feels totally different. When you're 1-7 in one-score games, I mean that's just, that's tough. It's tough to swallow that, but it also makes sense as to how that's different from 2022.
It's also the mark of a good team, though, because you look at the Kansas City Chiefs; they're 11-1, and a lot of those wins are games that were on a razor's edge, or one possession or one play differentiating and finding a way to win. And so I think the Giants need to build to a point in which when they get to those one or two play deciding factors, that they can find the way to win rather than
it's remarkable
inverse.
when you see like what the Chiefs are doing and how they're doing it, and it's like, man, they find a way
how they
to
do that
make
one,
some sort of play. Somebody steps up. The Bengals are an interesting case study in this too, because you look at how good they are offensively. I mean, they've lost games where they've scored 33 points or more, and it's mind blowing how good that offense is, and yet the defense finds a way to lose the game at the end. I've been on teams like that before, and it's like, man, you walk in a locker room and you're like, we have so much talent, we have so many good players here, and we're playing good football for 80% of the time, and then it's that 20% at the wrong time that just is killing us.
Absolutely.
Well, I find that I don't need a microscope to see that there's been a lot of progress. With this regime and the one before, even though by one writer's estimate, I was making up maybe 25% of the fan base that saw progress with the last regime. I think these guys have done even much better, and that if you just look at the recent history going back to the last Super Bowl, you can see what, coming into the Gettleman regime, 5 years of bad drafts and no re-signs. Not only by us, but none of those players were found anywhere else in the league either. That turned around under him, and it continues to turn around. And I'm a progress fan. It's not hard to find if you look at it. It's right there on the TV.
I appreciate the optimism. Thanks for the call, Cliff.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Because what is the expression? Progress, not perfection, is what you go for. Eventually, you want to aim for perfection, but that's the goal. And noticing the small modicum wins or the moments in which things are tilting the right direction. I mean, shoot, the injuries are a huge factor in this too. I mean, the fact that the Giants are on their third starting quarterback, kind of going back and forth between DeVito and Locke because of the injuries. It really highlights, too, just how impressive it was that your teammate, Eli Manning, 16 seasons, didn't miss a single game due to injury.
Yeah.
I mean, this further emphasizes just what an accomplishment that is.
Yeah, I mean, look, look, not just, for the Giants, like, look at how many quarterbacks the Jets have ripped through, in the last few years, too. And it's, it is
the
remarkable
Browns.
that Eli, not only played 16 years and was healthy and didn't miss a game due to injury, but 16 years in the New York market too. Like that takes some unbelievable patience and takes a special person to be able to handle all that, because this market can chew you up and spit you out. Look, Aaron Rodgers is finding that out too. Brett Favre went through it.
Yeah.
I think it really is. That's such a tough position to play, both physically and mentally, and sometimes the mental part outside of football is just as challenging. But
in 16 years in the New York market, my biggest takeaway or question mark around that is something that Eli had actually tweeted recently. He just now took his first subway ride? What?
Yeah.
Elijah Manning.
Well, I think what's interesting with that, he lived in Hoboken for a long time, so I'm sure he took the path at some point. I know he took the ferry. I know there was times of that. So taking the path and taking the subway, maybe that's different.
Well, if you take the path into the city, then you take the subway to your destination.
Right. Or you just take the path into the city and then you walk.
Or take a cab or something.
I know he likes to walk. But yeah, that is remarkable.
I was like, that's a feat in itself too.
So he was drafted in 2004.
Yeah.
So 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
He just took his first subway ride.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting that he waited till now.
Yeah. And the draft was in New York in 2004 also.
And I would say of all the times to try the subway out, December in New York City is probably not the best month, given the holiday traffic and the weather and everything that's going on. Like, I think if you were going to pick a month or a time to try the subway out, I think you would want to find a different time of year. Like, I would pick like a holiday weekend, like Memorial Day weekend.
No, not in the summer. The subway gets so sticky, hot, gross, and then you accidentally end up in a car with no AC on.
Oh. Yeah, no thank you.
No, and then everyone's got their arm up because they're holding on to things.
Oh yeah, yeah. Aren't you glad you sure? Yeah. Don't you wish everybody did?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd be curious, like, so I haven't ridden the subway in forever.
Oh, I ride it all the time.
Did he just pay? Like,
yeah.
Did he buy a card?
Did he MetroCard swipe, or did he knew they've got the new tap to pay, so that's easy.
Maybe you do that.
Yeah.
I think we have questions.
We have questions.
Yeah, I think
next week on Big Blue Kickoff
maybe
Live.
we need to get Eli in here
you're co-host of the Eli Manning Show.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
Next episode of the Eli Manning Show, we need to get that question answered. Yeah. Speaking of, I saw the incredible trick shots you guys had. The episode coming out tomorrow.
Oh, nice tease.
Just got to plug all the content. Shaun and Eli get in an old, set hut situation. He goes deep and throws a strike on some bowling pins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eli, he dusted off the old arm. We were talking about, 16 years in the league, he still got it. Like I asked him, I'm like, you need to warm up? He was like, I'm not warming up. Like, just starts rifling it. And yeah, he threw a couple of monster, 55-yard passes. Pretty cool. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear some feedback on the show. It was cool. The Hewlett brothers, they kind of created this show in their basement. Like during the pandemic, they were just bored and they were home from college and they were just doing tricks. And the crazy thing is, like, some of these tricks we asked them, like, what if you don't get it in the first couple hours?
Right.
Do you just keep going? They're like, yes. There was like one trick that I think took them like 8 hours, and they just kept doing it, and finally do it. Then when you're doing it that long, that's why you get that celebration. But
right, because you almost are just like going crazy. Yeah.
Ironically, it took us a while to do one of the tricks, but I don't want to spoil any surprises, but I think there might be some surprise as to how one of the tricks went down.
Wow.
And who actually delivered. I think there might be some surprise there.
Tomorrow on the Giants YouTube channel. Subscribe. Get the Eli Manning Show. Yeah, we showed a clip of it on Giants Post Game Live after the game against the Saints. And the clip was, Eli throwing the ball deep. The Hewlett brothers both, getting out in the routes. I asked Imani to critique the routes, and he declined politely. Yeah. But throws a football into bowling pins, and it was a strike. And Imani said, well, I don't know, the ball went out of the frame and back in. And Dan Culleney, the producer of Giants Post Game Live, who also produces the Eli Manning Show, said, nope, that was real.
Yeah, it's real. That happened. I was there. We had witnesses. That was not edited by any means.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it was a strike.
Yeah. So we're still having fun over here. The New York Football Giants. Big Blue Kickoff Live on a Wednesday afternoon. 201-939-4513 is the phone number if you guys want to get your calls in as we look ahead to the Giants' Week 15 game with the visiting Ravens. Something that I find interesting. Derrick Henry. First of all, the run defenses last week. Giants' run defense has been a point of emphasis. They did a pretty good job. Alvin Kamara is 44 yards rushing.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. Like, that was going to be the focal point. Right. And Kamara is very dangerous. I thought they did a good job kind of bottling him up.
Art Stapleton made a joke saying, oh, now we get it. Dexter Lawrence and Bobby Okereke were the problem. Obviously joking.
Yeah. No, but Chapman, again, the first play of the game. He
and Elijah Chapman, maybe a third of the size of Dexter Lawrence, really holding his own, taking up space in there. But this is another challenge because Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, first of all, Lamar Jackson, coming off that game against the Eagles in Week 13, his mother said to him, I need to see you run more. And when your mom tells you to do something, you listen to mom. They're on a bye Week 14. So he's been thinking about the fact that his mother told him he needs to run the ball more it'll be 2 weeks now by the time he gets to MetLife Stadium going against this Giants team. But not just Lamar running the ball. You got Derrick Henry, who is having a career season at the age of 30. Not only is he running like a madman, but also yards after contact. Ridiculous. The Giants, obviously, we've talked about their struggles in the tackling this season. Henry has forced 78 total missed tackles this season, third most in the league. He's taken them for an additional 587 yards per Next Gen Stats, which completely outpaces the rest of the league by 80 yards. So 587 yards.
587 yards after contact.
After contact.
Okay, just to put that in context, Tyrone Tracy is our leading rusher.
Yes.
He has 664 yards.
Total
on the season.
Yeah.
So Derrick Henry has almost as many yards after contact as our leading rusher right now.
Has total. That's pretty
impressive.
Exactly. Derrick Henry is on pace to meet or eclipse Eric Dickerson's record, essentially.
Wow.
2105 for the season, I believe it is. He's also had 600 plus yard games. All but one of them saw him add over 50 yards after contact. So again, a Giants team that we have said week in and week out, hey, you got to finish, you got to tackle, you got to bring these guys down. This is like a master class in that, going up against Derrick Henry.
It is. And Derrick Henry, look, everybody talks about how big he is and how the power that he runs with. I don't think people realize how fast he is.
Right.
I mean, this guy is, stronger than a locomotive, but he's faster than a speeding bullet. He can do it all, and he's got a mean stiff arm too. So anytime you have a big running back like Derrick Henry, what you want to do from a scheme standpoint is we want to get him one-on-one with a corner. So you try to run the football, you try to block, the linemen, the linebackers, get all those guys blocked, and the one guy that you can't block, you want to leave that guy as either a corner or a safety that's coming from, come downhill, coming from depth, because that's always the hardest tackle in football. If you get Derrick Henry one-on-one with the corner, we've seen him. He's throwing guys out of the club every single week.
Yeah.
It is stiff arm central.
Picking them off like
just
a
throwing
dryer
guys.
sheet.
So but I don't think people realize how fast he is too. And so it's not just, hey, this is a big guy, it's not Jerome Bettis. Hey, all right, we got to come up here and we got to thud him up and tackle him. This guy's, he can scoot. He runs outside zones just as well as he does in between the tackles when they want to go smash mouth football. So he's a really tough guy to tackle, and he's a high-hipped guy too.
Yeah.
So I think, for as big as he is, he's very nimble. He has really good vision, really good patience. He really has all the tools. I think this has been, look, there's a lot of people that are in the conversation for MVP in the NFL. What Derrick Henry has done with this offense, and shame on you, the rest of the NFL, for letting the Baltimore Ravens get Derrick Henry. How do you couple that with Lamar Jackson? To Lamar's mom's point, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I don't want to see Lamar run more. And there's no mom in the NFL that has a son as a quarterback that wants their quarterback son to run more. You want to protect it, keep him in the pocket.
She knows where his talents lie.
The crazy thing with Lamar is he leads the NFL in passer rating right now.
That he does.
For a couple of years, people were saying, hey, Lamar's got to do better in the passing game. He's got to do better with some of the intermediate throws. And, he's always thrown a great deep ball. He has a really good arm. He's really accurate. He can handle the slants and all that. It was kind of those layered throws, the second level throws that he needed to kind of work at and polish it. But he's lighting it up right now. Mm-hmm. So, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you have Derrick Henry so that Lamar doesn't have to run. But this is just a heck of a 1-2 punch because Lamar's doing a great job with his arm. He's also one of the best quarterbacks in the month of December. Over the last couple of years, I think he's 11-0 in games after week 15 in his career, which is remarkable. It's the best record of any quarterback in the NFL. So that right there, you just kind of look at, he's a closer. And what Derrick Henry's doing on the ground. And then when everybody is, all right, we're gung-ho, we're going to stop Derrick Henry, we're all flying to Derrick Henry. Now Lamar just pulls the ball out, and now he runs out the back door, and he's scampering for a big run because everybody's selling out to stop Derrick Henry. So it's a tough 1-2 punch defensively to try to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, their offense is a challenge. And their defense, it's a whole different ballgame because they have the number one rush defense, but the last ranked pass defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So running the ball against the Baltimore Ravens, a tremendous challenge, as some might say, 82.7 rushing yards per game allowed, leading the league. But passing against the Ravens, 264.9 passing yards per game allowed. That is the most passing yards per game allowed in the National Football League in 2024. So when you've got Tommy DeVito coming in, starting a quarterback this week, you got to think, the obvious matchup to play here.
Yeah. So this is an interesting little case study right here with stats. And I think those are great stats, and I'm glad you brought them up and we're pointing these out.
It also matters who they went against.
When you think about the Baltimore Ravens, they have been up so many times. Mm-hmm. So literally, it's not just, hey, our pass defense is bad, we're not poor. It's volume. Yeah. Right? People are throwing the ball a lot more than they are running it because they're down 14 points. We're smoking these guys. They were up big against Dallas earlier on this year. Yeah. And then Dallas was airing it out, and they came storming back and made it a game.
That's a good point.
So those kind of inflate the stats. Or, but when you look at it, you're like, wow, that's surprising that they would they have a bad pass defense. They don't have a bad pass defense. People are throwing the ball a lot more
They're
because
just
they're trying to
facing
keep
the
up
pass
with them.
more frequently.
And yeah, it's more volume, I think, as the indicator.
That makes sense. That makes sense because it's like whether or not you're good or bad at it, if you're facing it at a higher clip, you're going to accrue more yardage.
Yeah,
in that direction.
I think it would be interesting to take that study one step closer, see how many times have people run the ball against them versus pass compared to the average around the league. Like, I'm sure that number is disproportionate to some of the other teams in the league. Yeah,
that's true. That's another stat. And then, another thing to keep an eye on as well, you've got essentially a Hall of Fame worthy kicker in Justin Tucker, but he's struggling this season. He's missed 8 kicks.
Someone's got a voodoo
5
doll.
Losses. Seriously.
This feels like someone's got a voodoo doll and they're just like sticking little pins in it. I don't know. He definitely.
He's got like the yips or something.
He's got a little Ray Finkel in him right now all of a sudden. And ironically, you almost can kind of go back to last year in the AFC Championship game, Baltimore Ravens hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Justin Tucker's getting all cute, doing his little stretching routine down in where the Chiefs are warming up.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelce, I'm sure everybody saw the video. Kelce takes his helmet and all his stuff and chucks it.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, we're warming up. This is our space. Like, you have the rest of the field to kick. You can kick at any point in time. Like, this, don't mess with us. And a lot of people were kind of like, oh man, I can't believe he did that. Like Kelce, and I'm like, no, dude, game day, there are no friends on game day. And that I thought was great. And it was like Kelce was like, we're here to kick some butt. We came here to drink some beer and kick some ass. And it looks like we're about out of beer, is basically what Kelce said. Yeah. I think that was poignant. What's ironic is since that happened, Justin Tucker things have kind of gone a little sideways for him. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you call that the if we really want to go conspiracy theory, this is Taylor Swift in the work.
This is how you got daughters.
Boom. They hexed up with the friendship bracelet. Something happened.
Her favorite number is 13, and she's gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's a lot of layers to that onion.
No.
But ever since that happened, Tucker, it's been an odd year for him.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll see if he can shake it off, but not this week.
Not this week. No,
not
next
this
week. Yeah, next week.
Next week, maybe.
I see what you did there. Yeah. Yeah, we hope that this week is still a blank space.
See, nailed it. Hey, Giants fans, you want to take your fandom to the next level? You can get a season ticket membership, stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2024 season. To learn more about all exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. 201-939-4513. We got a false alarm there, huh? All right, that's fair. 201-939-4513 is the phone number. BBK phone lines are open.
They're ringing.
I like
it.
You used to call me on my cell phone. That's what Drake said. I don't know. That's what we're talking about here. It's a Wednesday fun day here, and we've got this game coming up this weekend back at MetLife, the penultimate home game of the season. It's supposed to be a little cold, a little cloudy, a little overcast. The rain is not supposed to be in effect on Sunday, which will be nice.
I'll take the 1 o'clock games in December all day. A little sunshine, great football weather.
Yep.
You like a little
crisp fall afternoon.
What's the precipitation outlook right now?
Slight chance of precipitation. It looks like it's not supposed to rain on Sunday, despite the fact that we're getting much needed rain today and tomorrow. But yeah, Sunday we got a cloud emoji on the Apple weather,
that's fine.
But no rain emoji. So nice little overcast afternoon at MetLife Stadium. And your weather on the ones brought to you by nobody.
Well done.
Thank you. All right, let's head back to the phone lines. Mark in Vermont. Mark, thanks for calling in Big Blue Kickoff Live. You're on with Madelyn and Shaun. How's it going?
Yeah, I had Madelyn and Shaun. It's the first time I've ever called, but I've been watching the show for years and just think you guys do a great job.
First time, long time. Thanks so much, Mark.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. I've been a Giants fan going along way back. In fact, I went to grade school with Andy Robustelli's kids, and even going back there, I can remember at Stanford Catholic High in Connecticut watching Bobby Valentine, number 32, run for touchdown after touchdown. He was a great football player, let alone baseball. But anyway, my question is, it seems to me, watching game after game, that the calls aren't really that bad. The personnel, it's talented. There's no question they're talented. The play calling's decent, but the problem is execution. It just seems to be one thing after another, and there's plenty of blame to go around. It seems to be happening in, kind of all aspects of the game. And I don't know what Brian Daboll can do because, you see him shaking his head on the sideline after penalties or, again, a lack of execution. So what can he do? What can the coaching staff do to kind of get him to pick up that, that tackle that was missed or that pass that was dropped or that interception that made, it just seemed that there were an awful lot of blocked passes in that last game. I think there were 6 knockdown that Luck was throwing. So how do the coaches go about, trying to make that better?
Yeah, great question, Mark.
Good observation. Lots of batted balls at the line of scrimmage.
There were a lot. Look, there's always a lot of reasons for that, batted balls. And obviously the first one, you go to what's the height of the quarterback, right? Like, when people are coming out of the draft, people always say, oh, man, this guy's not very tall. Like, is he going to struggle with throws behind the pocket? But it's really your throwing motion, right? Because, like, Russell Wilson is not a very tall guy. I mean, he's like 5'10", 5'11", probably.
But he
throws over the top. Like, you don't see a lot of batted balls with Russell Wilson. But then you have some guys that kind of sidearm it. Stafford's, he's a big sidearm kind of guy. I think so. The arm angle and the delivery of that is a factor. Obviously, protection is a factor, right? Because defensive linemen know if I can't get to the quarterback, like just get in the throwing lane. And as a quarterback, you've kind of got to navigate that too. Like if you have somebody rushing right there, you have to know that if I'm throwing a slant, like this guy is probably going to put his hand up. Like J.J. Watt did it a ton. He had a great knack for it. But I think staring down the receiver is another part of that. So you have 6 batted balls, and it's, there may be 2 cases in each of those instances. Hey, if you're a quarterback and you're just staring, waiting for this guy to come up, waiting for him to come open, now the defenders can key on that and they get in the throwing lane. But that's something that you work on. And I remember a couple years ago, there was Eli led the NFL in interceptions one year, and there was a lot of drop passes, batted balls, and so Mike Sullivan, our quarterback coach, was like, "Look, we're going to work on this." So they literally had equipment guys standing out there at the line with brooms. They were holding up brooms, and it was just kind of giving the quarterback an opportunity to, hey, you know what? I've got to find a way I'm going to throw the ball to this receiver, but I've got objects in my way. I either got to throw it sooner or I got to wait till he gets to the second window. So there are ways you can improve that and you can help that out. So I'm sure the Giants coaching staff is looking at it saying, all right, this was an issue. How do we help Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito in that capacity? Maybe there are some drills we can do to help with that. But you were talking about execution, and it just kind of made me think of, I don't know who said this. I can't remember what coach said this. Maybe somebody can look it up and fact check this as to who did it. But it was after a very bad game or whatever, and the coach comes in the press conference, and the question's asked to him, how do you feel about the execution of your offense today? Let me reword that. How do you feel about the execution of your offense? And the coach said, I'm all for it. So that kind of came to mind when you were talking about execution. It was like, it was such a bad day, and I think he had a moment there, and he had fun with it. Like, they're asking him, how do you feel about the execution of your offense? I'm all for it.
John McKay.
John McKay.
Too funny.
Oh, that's great. Good pull. Pull. So I think
too funny. To
your point, there is, execution is everything. This is a performance business, right? It's execution by the players, execution by the coaching staff. Look, to me, the execution of the plays and the execution on the field, to me, always falls on the players. Like, you're being paid to catch the ball. You're being paid to block. You're being paid to throw. That's why you're here. That is what you are being paid to do. You got to do it. And I kind of have a totally different perspective on this now too, from a coaching standpoint. I've mentioned it before. I coach. I'm an assistant coach for my son's football team, and
the world champion War Eagles.
Yes, Super Bowl champion, undefeated War Eagles, the juniors, 5th and 6th grade team. There are so many times where during the week we're coaching on a specific play or a point. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, this is the route. This is who you're going to throw the ball to. We work it. We rep it. You get into the game. You call the play, and all hell breaks loose. And you're like, what in the hell happened? We went over this, guys. We went over this. We talked about this. We knew this was exactly what was going to happen. And yeah, you know what? Didn't work out. It failed.
Right.
So, people are, the moms are yelling at us, what that kind of play call was that? And you're like, all right, we had this play. We ran it 10 times in practice. We hit on it every single time. In the game, it didn't work. So there is some of that going on and some frustration. I think it's also, look, sometimes you call the play and, all hell breaks loose and it ends up being a great play. I mentioned the 3rd and 15 scramble from Drew Lock in the game on Sunday. Look, you call the play and it's like, hey, we think we got a good play call. We're going to have a guy that we think we can get the first down with. And it doesn't happen, but yet you made the first down because you just, hey, I'm ad-libbing. I'm just being a football player, being an athlete. So there are times that you kind of have to overcome that aspect of it as well. The Giants are not great at all of those things right now. And I always say it comes down to the players.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen too. It just seems like, Brian's on the side, and you just see him kind of put his head down. I can tell he's almost trying to underreact because he knows the camera's on him and he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he's got to be careful.
He's a good guy,
they caught him, and I think they asked him about it in the post game presser after the game. Like there was one play where he was like really like demonstrative, and Drew Lock, and he was kind of talking to him very sternly, and he kind of took off and scrambled. And it looked like he could have, if he kept running straight forward, he would have got the first down. And he kind of banked hard right into the defenders, and it was 3rd down, I think, and he got tackled short of the first down. And it looked like he had a chance to get the first down. And I think Dave was like, go get the first.
Yeah.
Like, it's right there. Like, have some awareness. And it's like, everybody, as a coach, you're always saying, hey, on 3rd down, always know where the sticks are. Like if you're a ball carrier, quarterback, running back, receiver, you got to know where the first down is. You might get the ball, you never know. I think that's kind of one of those coaching points where it's like, man, like the first down was right there. You did the right thing, and it just it didn't work out.
Yeah, when he took that right-hand turn into those 2 defenders, my wife looks and she goes, why did he do that? I'm like, honey, I don't know.
It almost looked like he was trying to see if he could weave around and break off a bigger run instead of just getting the yardage needed to move the sticks.
Yeah.
And listen, when you get out there, game speed is different. And, that's one of the things that you talk about is like you have guys that are awesome. They're middle of the week All-Americans. And they go out there on Sunday and they can't get right. Like they drop everything. They're awful. And you have some guys that during the week, like they stink. And you're like, I can't play this guy. He's terrible. He doesn't even know what he's doing. And then you put him out there and he catches everything.
Yeah.
We had a guy like that on our team, my son's football team. He dropped every single pass all week long. And like the first couple of weeks, we were like, "What the heck is wrong with this kid?" And then in the game, boom! I mean, he had stickum on his glove.
Works well everything. Under pressure.
So like by week 3, he drops a pass, and we're like, "All right, good play, we're good."
Yeah.
We're okay with him dropping passes during the week because we knew he was going to catch it on game day.
Yeah.
Well, we need to have a little of that mojo going on our team.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the call, Mark. Appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks again for all you do.
Appreciate it. First time, long time. Mark, I feel like coaching has got to be a lot like parenting. When you 100%. Got kids, you're like, I don't know how many times I told you to take the trash out. It's not that hard. Why do you keep, it's one of those things where you tell them to clean their room. And no matter how many times you tell them, no matter how much you know that they understand, sometimes there's a disconnect.
And each kid is different.
Right.
We struggle with this even with my son.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you tell him to do 3 things, go upstairs. Hey, brush your hair, brush your teeth, grab some socks.
He'll grab some socks.
He comes down with the socks. Your hair's a mess. Did you brush your teeth too? Oh no, I forgot about it. Okay, go back up. So it's like 3 trips, and it usually he's 1 for 3. My daughter, on the other hand, you could give her 3 things. She'll go do them and also come down like, oh hey, I thought you might want this. This was in my room. This was a cup or some or water bottle that you left. So it's like. Each kid is different, but she will not turn her lights off. Like I have to go upstairs and I'm like, every single light is on in her room. She did everything that we asked her to do, picked up all the clothes, everything, but everything that needs electricity is on in her room. So it's like you gotta know your kids, you gotta know your players. Like, okay, this is what they do well. This is what I gotta remind them. I have to remind my quarterback, hey, make sure you watch the free safety blitz, or hey, you got to remind somebody, the running back, hey, make sure you put 2 hands on the ball. on this play, or in this situation of the game. So there are those little coaching points, parenting points that you have to, if you know your kid, like the pitfalls. It's like my son forgets his water bottle every day. So it's like I got to tell him 3 times.
Yeah. But it's also too, it's also how you tell them, and you've got to tell your son things differently as I imagine you tell your daughter things. And there's players that some players respond really well to getting yelled at or getting told like this is in a stern talking to, and some players respond well to positive reinforcement and hey, this is great, let's do encouragement. And you got to know the difference, because if somebody is a positive reinforcement person and you hit them with the negative, that could be deflating. Or if somebody needs to be, scolded to get the point, and you hit them with the positive reinforcement, they're not going to get it. And so that's another challenge I think people underestimate in the challenge of coaching, is that it's not just about knowing ball and being a brilliant football mind and having a great scheme and executing, but also people, the people skills and the understanding of the different elements of what it takes to bring out the best in people.
Yeah, amen. Everybody's a different learner, right? Yeah. Some are audio learners. Yeah. Some need visual. Some need to actually physically do it. So there's all those different levels. And there are little things that you can do as a coach and as a parent to kind of help them out, teach them little techniques. And those are the things that go a long way. And that's why, as a player, when you have a coach that teaches you techniques and that makes you better, like that's where the trust really grows. And it's like, okay, hey, they taught me this technique, it helped, it made me better. Like, all right, I'm a sponge now. Like, what else can I learn?
And then when you're seeing the effect of, okay, they taught me this, it's working, I'm getting better. Okay, now I trust them. And now when they teach me something else that I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, but I'm going to lean in because I've seen the other things that you've shown me.
I trust the process.
I trust the process. Boom. That's
Circle
called,
back.
It's called a callback in the industry, in case y'all at home were wondering. Giants Fantasy. Giants official connected TV streaming app Giants TV brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and on the Giants mobile app. And on that note, my friends, we thank you for listening to today's episode of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. BBKL is a part of the Giants podcast platforms everywhere, and giants.com/podcasts.
Yes. Happy birthday, Jim.
Mahalo. Happy birthday, Dad. For Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke. That's a wrap on Big Blue Kickoff Live. We'll see you next time.